Did y'all see that video of that girl asking how all the OG influencers were making $30,000 to $50,000 a month and now they're broke and e-begging on TikTok?
I'm almost at 1 million followers, broke. I go to my regular minimum wage job every single day. That's how I pay all of my bills.
How the hell do you go from making $350,000 a month as an influencer to now where you're on this app crying that you cannot afford your $25,000 a month mortgage?
Influencers might look rich, but in 2026, a lot of them are way more broke than you think. Behind the status and expensive things are massive credit card balances, brand deals that barely cover expenses, and non-stop pressure to spend just to keep up with trends and maintain their image. Today, we're talking about why so many influencers and even celebrities are quietly drowning in debt trying to look successful online. As usual, I'll be reading some of your comments in today's video, so if you want to be featured in the next one, definitely make sure to leave your thoughts down below.
I think all these influencers are lying about being rich. I'm almost at 1 million followers, broke as fuck. Well, not broke, but like I go to my regular minimum wage job every single day, 5 days a week, clock in. That's how I pay all of my bills. Is that my thing? I did my taxes and I only got 3 brand deals this year, each for $2,000, which works out to like $500 extra a month. Amazing, gorgeous. I can never be happier. But I'm just saying $500 a month is not livable. You know, like, but I am super grateful for it. But I'm saying that's all that I got.
Whoa.
Like you could see, you know? And I think just these influencers are lying to you. I think because they're either trying to sell you a course or tell you how great their life is after, you know, you've insulted them. But there's nothing up here. I'm up here now with everybody else. And I'm telling you that there's nothing up here.
Whoa.
And the fuck is this?
She's up there now. Let's break this down because this is interesting. And I've been wanting to talk to you guys about this topic for a very long time. She said she's at 1 million followers and has to work a minimum wage job like everyone else to pay for her bills because influencing doesn't pay enough. The thing is, in today's culture and society, things are totally different when it comes to influencing because it's just not the same. And I'm talking about like long form influencers and short form influencers. They are totally different. Not to mention, a lot of these influencers, like, look at, no offense, we're going to judge people based on their looks here, but you can tell she's keeping up with things and has probably a pretty big spending budget to keep up with her influencing to get to the size that she's at. I mean, lips done, nails done, hair done, makeup done, eyebrows done, eyelashes done. I mean, it's expensive. I'm not saying you can't do it. All I'm saying is it's very expensive to do that stuff. So you are going to have high bills. And that kind of comes with the territory depending on the type of influencer you are. And with a lot of these kind of lifestyle influencers, a big thing is keeping up with the Joneses and keeping up with the trends and the latest and greatest stuff because that's what gets views. And unfortunately, what comes with that is a pretty hefty bill. Now, here's the crazy thing that I want to touch upon super quickly. Short form influencers, TikTok and YouTube Shorts pays peanuts in comparison to long form YouTube content and maybe even long form TikTok content. But I will say it is much harder to become a long form YouTuber content creator because you need actual like skills. I don't want to be like too harsh, but you know, keep people's attention for a long period of time. Be good at editing, be good at videography and stuff like that. When, you know, short form content is pretty much just ranting, generally speaking, and it's kind of more informal, so it pays a lot less.
Did y'all see that video of that girl asking how all the OG influencers were making $30,000 to $50,000 a month and now they're broke and e-begging on TikTok? Like, what happened to all that money? So as somebody who accumulated over 2.5 million subscribers on YouTube back in 2015, and I was literally living in LA, so I witnessed a lot of this, I'm going to give you guys the breakdown on what happened with that money. I can't speak for everybody, obviously, but just what I've seen. When I moved out there, I thought I was pushing it with my $2,000 one-bedroom apartment, but I had people living in the same building, just at the top floor. I was on the third floor, but they were at the top floor paying $20,000 a month. And then I had some friends that lived in mansions just for the sole purpose of wanting to be able to throw parties and have people come over and make content in there. Literally paying people's yearly salaries, like $30,000, $40,000 a month just to rent this huge house. So for those of you that were also wondering, like, why do a lot of these influencers have big houses but they're fucking empty? Not even joking, to get some good quality furniture in there, it's gonna cost you like $500,000. And don't even get me started on their Uber ego. It's like people reach a certain amount of followers and all of a sudden they can't use Uber X. Ew, we can't pull up to this party in a Prius. Order an Uber Black. Why would we spend $250 to pull up to a party when we could spend $19.99? Half the cars that you see these people whipping around are rentals, and they're spending like $300, $500 a day just to whip it around and try to act like they're somebody they're not. Babe, just because you hit 200K doesn't mean you need to go and get a C300 from Mercedes. Like, it's okay. You can drive your paid off Toyota. Maybe 1 out of 10 of my friends actually cooked their meals at home. Everybody was constantly going out to eat or hiring private chefs. When you start making all this money, a lot of people tend to forget that it might stop one day. So they're still going on these expensive vacations, buying all this designer, even if it's starting to dwindle, because they literally got used to that lifestyle. Girl, when I tell you, the second I had enough money to buy a property, I bought one. You could only tell so many story times and do so many get ready with me's before people fucking lose interest, okay? I had to be realistic about it. But I could see how most 21-year-olds are not thinking about that. More or less, a lot of these people ran through their money trying to look cool. That's it. And now they're begging for galaxies and cowboy hats. Cool.
Wow. Well, I mean, she's 100% right. And that, I think, is the biggest issue with people that, you know, hit success or get lucky on social media, or honestly in any business, to be honest with you here. I have several friends and I know of people that similar things have happened to them, not necessarily influencing, but within their own business. People don't realize you need to count your blessings, because at some point it's going to run out. One way or another, it almost always happens. And I hate to break it to you. We live in a market cycle. There are trends. Things are fads. People lose interest faster now than ever before, and they're moving on to something else. And 9 times out of 10, whatever it is that you are making lots of money on, if you're not keeping up with the times, it will run out. And if you have a spending problem and spend all of your money, assuming it's going to happen and continue forever, and it's not going to run out, you're going to have a big issue. You're going to be left with tremendous amounts of debt, credit card debt, loans, and you might go bankrupt. I hate to break it to you. So the well inevitably dries out, or at the bare minimum, you need to go into the mindset that at some point the well will dry up. And that's how I've been living all my life, assuming that whatever I'm doing, there's a chance it could go away. So I need to do, you know, what a squirrel does and, you know, save your nuts for the winter, you know, have an emergency fund, have money invested and set aside in case stuff does go wrong, which it always does. That's called life. So this is a common thing with influencers, is they're constantly having to keep up their image and their social status. And what they end up doing also is you need to constantly stay relevant. And in an oversaturated niche like we're in, you need to constantly be pushing the boundaries, spending more money, renting out larger and more expensive cars. No longer is having a Mercedes a flex anymore. You need to have a Lamborghini. And even that is oversaturated now and boring. You need to have a $1 million car to get people's attention. In short, they wasted money. Yeah, pretty much in short, that's exactly it. And this is a common thing that we see with people that also have no understanding of money. It's very common with rappers or musicians and NFL players or big sports superstars, and even, people that win the lotto. They never had an understanding of money to begin with. So now when they get lots of it, the only thing they can do is continue their habits that kept them broke to begin with, and it's going to essentially put them right back to where they started from. That's why so many rappers and artists and celebrities and people that win the lotto go broke within like a couple of years after getting such a large sum of money. So basically, all their money went into keeping their rich image. Yep, pretty much. And eventually people lose interest, or eventually their bills start to outweigh how much money is coming in, and they fall into debt.
You say you was broke. Was you at like $0 broke?
I had to borrow money to get my kids burger.
Jeez.
Wow.
Yeah.
After having, what's the most you ever had in the bank at one time?
40 million.
Jesus Christ. How do you have a hairline? My God.
T-Pain.
$40 million to zero?
Yeah.
And it was just all bad spending? No bad investments? Like, what was it?
It was a lot of bad investments.
Wow.
A lot of things.
What
that
did you
just
invest in
went-
that didn't work for $40 million? What were you investing in?
Real estate.
Real estate.
Yeah.
You buy retail?
No, but I was letting my manager do it, and he was way more optimistic than I was.
So what do you mean
Wow.
optimistic?
He didn't know
Like
what he
he
was
would
doing.
just buy complete dumps and think that we can just paint, and then we should
He
be
didn't
fine.
know what he was.
Never sold anything that we bought.
Is there anything if you'd have held on to would be worth a lot now?
No, not at all.
Like,
These were in
what?
terrible neighborhoods, but I
Where?
didn't.
Where? In Florida?
Yeah, it was all in Florida, South Florida. It was
Something's not making sense here because $40 million, you wouldn't need to do anything. Why would you even consider flipping up rental properties? It's pointless. Just leave $40 million in a simple index fund tracking the S&P 500 or the total market, and that's it. Leave it alone. And the small amount of interest that you'd make, 8 to 10% a year, would make you millions of dollars, let alone he could have just invested in some of it in a high yield savings account earning 3 to 4%. And that 4% alone would have made him hundreds of thousands of dollars a year risk free. Insane. Anywho, I wanted to read a couple of comments that you guys had left on previous episodes. If you guys want to get featured in the next episode, definitely make sure to drop a comment down below. I've heard Dave Ramsey say this phrase multiple times. We buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like. Followed up by everyone trying to keep up with the Joneses. And I said this many of times, and it doesn't just apply to influencers. You see, it's slightly different with influencers because their job is their image. So the money they spend on their image, hopefully, makes them a return on their so-called investment here. But normal everyday Joes like you and I can't afford to do this. That is money wasted. It is not a business. It is not money invested. You are the consumer. So at the lowest level here, it's just throwing money away, and it's a trap, essentially. So you need to stop spending all your money on it. You need to stop keeping up with the Joneses and your neighbor, because essentially, in the simplest form, that is what is keeping you broke, and that is what is keeping you poor. You have to stop keeping up with everyone and showing off your so-called wealth, because nobody cares. Keep it in your wallet, invest it, and pay off your debt, because you can't have both. I hate to break it to you. You can't have your cake and eat it too.
So a lot of these influencers and people nowadays, they take their quick little money, they spend it all,
Yep.
they're not investing correctly, they don't have the right team, and they have a Lambo and then they're broke in 6 months. And you're like, oh, well, did you need that car? Because you didn't have that car 6 months ago. So I invested into the brand, created 150 liquid lipsticks, and I just kept making new categories of things that I loved. I've never created something for the customer. I create things for me and the customer.
I want to be an influencer. I want to get PR. I want to get free stuff. No, you do not. This is the 1099 that I got in the mail yesterday. You know what this says? $63,000. Spoiler, I did not make $63,000 from this collaboration. As an influencer, gifts and PR can be reported as compensation by the company to the IRS.
Okay, so gifts can't be. If it's a gift, it's a gift. I'm pretty sure, and ask your accountant, I'm pretty sure that that's a wash. You don't have to pay taxes on it. But PR sent in exchange for promotion is essentially considered a form of payment, which a lot of people don't realize. And I do TikTok shop, and I enjoy doing it, showing off products that I enjoy or use, like automotive tools and even tech gadgets. And if I don't, I give them away as a gift to friends and family that I think would use it here. But essentially, all that stuff you have to claim on your taxes and pay for. And not a lot of people realize that. And they end up having a huge tax bill at the end of the year. And I also like what Jeffree Star said, very, very, very wealthy. And I like what was said specifically because that's exactly what happens. Most people, the second they get their hands on money, just blow it. it leaves just as quickly as they got it because they have no understanding in it. It takes a certain type of discipline. It takes discipline to be able to hold on to money and not spend it on materialistic things that are going to lose value. You have to figure out a more strategic way to spend your money. I like to think of it as spending my money on things that work for me. So whether it's, buying something to reinvest back into my business, or I like to spend all my money on index funds because I know it's a good way to park my money and have it essentially make me a return on my investment, or put money in a high yield savings account. The worst thing you could possibly do is throw your money into a car or a car note because it's a depreciating asset and it's going to lose so much money within the first couple of years of owning it.
Have you ever seen that where someone is like publicly thought to be a billionaire and then you look at their bank statements during a divorce and you realize that they've basically managed to hide everything, so they're basically broke, it's all in someone else's name?
Well, yeah, there's two permutations of that. One is people who are publicly incredibly wealthy, and then in reality, they're leveraged to the hilt and broke, like way broke. That happens a lot. And that happens a lot with celebrities. Celebrities are very often leveraged to the hilt because they had a hit record or they had a hit movie or two. And then they think, oh, everything I do is going to be like this. And so they just go out and buy tons of stuff. And there's always people who loan you money, especially if you're a public figure and you have some money, right? A couple of $1,000,000, you can get a couple million more real easy. So, and then it just very rapidly, and they buy everybody else. They have, there's always clingers around the person, the whole entourage that a lot of whom are siphoning money off of people. So there's a lot of people that look very wealthy and are dead broke. And I have a lot of those.
How does that play out in court when the wife finds out that their partner or the husband finds out?
That's very interesting. And I said this before too. It's not just with massive celebrities. It's with everyday people trying to start businesses or just live life. They get their hands on some money and then they leverage it. Let's say you get a raise at your job and you get a car payment because, I can afford it now. Or you're doing, pretty well with your new startup business or your small business. And you're like, I can do better. So you go and you take out a loan. This is the problem because you think, your job's going to continue to be there. And you think you're going to continue to make that money at your small business. But then stuff happens. Life happens. You lose your job. Or maybe people no longer like scented candles and they like scented perfumes instead. And now you have a loan or tons of inventory and you can't afford to pay it back. So this is the problem with leveraging money. You have to have millions to borrow millions, but you can also have a couple $1,000 to borrow a couple $1,000. And that's all it takes to absolutely destroy people and get them on a track of, tremendous amounts of debt and a life full of financial problems. So you got to be really careful. After the age of 30, if you're jealous about what someone drives, you've lost the plot. And this is a great point too. Now, don't get me wrong. If you've made money and you're debt free and you have not too much left on your mortgage and you want to treat yourself and buy a fancy car because that's what you're into, or buy a fancy stove because that's what you're into, or a fancy fridge, and you pay cash and you have an emergency fund and you got plenty of money invested, there's nothing wrong with that. For those that watch Dave Ramsey, I'm pretty sure he's got an extensive car collection, but he's debt-free with millions of dollars in the bank, in real estate, so he can. Why not?
The reality of being a content creator with over 200,000 followers is I'm broke. I go viral literally every single week. Every week. I got over 8 million views this past month. I have loyal fans, but I'm just I had $101 in my bank account yesterday. Last month, the Creator Fund paid me $70 because I make a lot of short form videos that aren't over 1 minute long.
Yep.
And I'm going to keep saying this, people are not paying Black creators.
No.
I have fucking verified companies and businesses commenting on my videos trying to be relatable and shit. And it's just you guys won't fucking pay me. It gets to a point. I'm getting really frustrated. because this has been my career for a while. Like, I used to make a lot more money on social media, and I feel like as my platform grows bigger and bigger, people get this idea that, like, you must be doing very, very well.
That's
like,
true.
Even better than before.
Is she in Japan?
And I'm just like, dude, what? Anyway, if you want to literally send me money, because I'm just like, this is so dumb.
This has absolutely nothing to do with the way you look. She literally admitted as to why she's not making enough is because TikTok pretty much now only incentivizes 1 minute or longer videos, and she's not doing that. She just said she only does small short form videos under a minute long, and TikTok stopped paying for that. Years ago in college, I used to make TikToks for fun, only a couple seconds long, and I was making, several $100s a month for fun. $500-$600 a month. It was crazy. Unfortunately, TikTok became 1 minute or longer, and my content, I just couldn't do it. So I wasn't making any money. It's the problem she's having. I still had like 80, 90,000 followers. Some people might think that's a lot, but in reality, short form content is so oversaturated, and it's fairly easy to build a large audience, but it's not authentic as well as long form YouTube content is. People just don't realize that.
The influencers from a decade ago that are broke now were living paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
As soon as that money came in, it went straight to vanity purchases and bills.
Oh my.
There was also this trend where as soon as the views went up, they ran straight to LA, New York, or whatever expensive city they could find.
This is
and
it.
with that change, they got bigger bills and also new content. That new content may have not been received well, and they got less views, and the money went down also.
We get a lot of money up front sometimes, depending on where you are in your career. So you get this money up front, but you're only good as your last project. So your value to the bottom line when you're dealing with networks or studios is like, how valuable are you? And sometimes if you're not that valuable anymore, you're not bringing in the money. But what happens is there's a lot of money going out of the door, right? So you get this money, and if you hit a time in your career where the money is not sustainable, it's not really coming in, but everything is going out the door. So you, as you mentioned, you got agents, you got managers, you got financial people that you have to pay. You have lawyers you have to pay, right? You have, let's say if you have a team, pardon me, for like publicity and all that stuff, and all the things that come with creating an entity or creating a commodity as an artist. So it's a lot of money that's going out, and let's not forget the government, like the gangsters. You know what I'm saying? The silent partner. Yeah, man, the silent partner. If you don't do it, they stick you up, right? They come to knock at that door.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. See, what people don't realize, it's just plain and simple. It's called lifestyle creep. And what happens is your income is not guaranteed. But what is guaranteed is the debt you leverage yourself for. When you go into the dealership and you sign a 7-year contract for $500 a month, that is guaranteed. Your job, you didn't sign a contract that you're going to be paid indefinitely for every month for the next 5 years. They can have a layoff and you're fired next month. You still have bills that you guaranteed payment for that you have to pay. Not only does this cause financial stress, it causes you to freak out because you don't have the money to afford stuff that you once did at the salary you once had. Let's say you are making $100,000 a year and you think, oh, I can easily afford an $800 a month car payment, which maybe you could. But if you lose that job, it's going to be that much harder, for whatever reason you lost it. Let's say they are doing layoffs, to find a similar job that's also laying people off at $100,000 a year. That's very difficult to do. But what isn't is signing up for a $800 a month car payment. So you really over leverage yourself and shoot yourself in the foot when you make choices like this. And I've seen it time and time and time again from people that I bump into. And we talk about money and they tell me they got a raise, they got a bigger car, they got a raise, they got a bigger house. Whatever it is, they just take out loans on things and then they lose a job and they're freaking out and panicking. So plain and simple, leverage is not your friend. Buy things in cash, have an emergency fund, and get out of debt. I'm enraged by people earning $200K a year and claiming poverty because they cannot keep their shit under wraps. We are downwardly mobile due to layoffs, have less and less while everything costs more and more, and the medical bills keep on coming. See, that I think medical debt is horrible, and that's something that might be unavoidable if it happens to you. That's a real shame, and that's a conversation for a different video here. But for the most part, it's more common with high earners that the more money they make, the more they have to keep up with their lifestyle and with the other people around them that also make lots of money. So they get all the fancy cars, the fancy clothes, the fancy bills, send their kids to private school, never cook their own meals, always ordering out, always going out for fancy, expensive dinners and stuff like that. And they're the ones that live paycheck to paycheck. And all it takes is one little slip up and they're going to be fumbling into debt because they can't now scrounge up the money to keep up with the lifestyle that they locked themselves into. This is why you need to live below your means, because it's much easier to get back up if you fall.
How the hell do you go from making $350,000 a month as an influencer to now where you're on this app crying that you cannot afford your $25,000 a month mortgage? Like, sell your house. That's the first thing most people are thinking when they hear that you're struggling to pay a $25,000 per month mortgage. And also, you're telling me while you were making $350,000 a month, you didn't think that it would have been a good idea to save any of your money? I have no ounce of sympathy for you whatsoever. Because again, there's no way you were making $350,000 and you didn't save, nor did you invest any of that money for a rainy day. That was stupid. Being a full-time influencer is not a stable job. You can be the it person right now, and 6 months from now, no one cares about you or your content. $350K a month, and you're now broke? Yeah, nah, that's on you. You stupid. You could have took 2 months' salary and just bought a house cash, and you would not be in that situation
exactly
right
what I was
now
about to say.
where you're worried about paying a mortgage for $25,000 a month because the money's drying up.
When you own your car and your house is paid off, you can ride the waves and ride out the storm so much easier than people that are leveraged to that stuff. You don't really need to worry what happens when grocery prices go up or when the price of gas goes up. It doesn't affect you because everything's paid off. I mean, yeah, it might be annoying when you see the price of gas and groceries go up, but it really doesn't matter all that much, if that makes sense. But for people that over leverage themselves, buy too much house, buy too much car, don't have anything paid off, that could literally make or break whether or not you have to use your credit card and go into a 30% interest rate. That's not good. Skate and buy, always financially stressed. That's because they're probably lying about making $350K a month. If I'm making $350K a month, I'm buying a house in cash my first month. Seriously, why would you take out a $25K payment? It's insane. Making $350K a month and having a mortgage is crazy. But again, people will always find a way with these influencers to up their lifestyle because, $350K a month is not enough. I'm going to go mortgage a $25 million house, and boom, they're in the same problem most consumers are. Just with more zeros at the end of it.
This is how I'm making sure I don't go broke as an influencer that has not had a W-2 job in over 2 years. I keep seeing videos about that Tara's World girl, basically how she can't afford her mortgage. Apparently she used to make a ton of money. She bought a mansion in Beverly Hills and now she doesn't make as much money, and she's posting videos about how she can't afford her $25,000 a month mortgage. And I just bought a house and moved in a couple of weeks ago, and this was something that I thought about for a very, very long time before getting a mortgage, because in my opinion, the best way to not go broke as a content creator and someone someone with very variable income, keep your monthly expenses, especially your big fixed expenses, super reasonable. Obviously, I did not buy a mansion in Beverly Hills. I bought a townhouse in the suburbs of Pittsburgh, and I made sure that I didn't buy until I could afford to put a large enough down payment down, where my monthly mortgage payment, including taxes and insurance, is only around $2,500 a month. I also made sure before I bought anything that all of my other debt was paid off. So like my car payment, my student loans, made sure to pay those off first, so that on top of my mortgage payment, I didn't also have a car payment and a student loan payment every single month. I became fully self-employed 2 years ago. I've had myself set up on payroll through my business, and I pay myself a $120,000 annual salary through my business. So after taxes and all of that, what hits my bank account every single month is like $6,600 a month, which is a very, very good salary, but make sure that my budget always stays within the confines of that salary, including the money that I'm putting into my savings account and my investment account. It forces me to keep my expenses around that like $5,000 a month mark. It just helps to make sure that I'm not blowing every single dollar that comes in as business revenue. So if I do have a low month on the business revenue side, I can still afford that. And it also makes sure that on the personal side, I'm not inflating my expenses to a point that I could not sustain if I had to go get a W-2 job.
Nothing needs to be said. It was perfect. Putting yourself on a salary is so smart too. Yeah, it is definitely, if you're self-employed, to avoid paying self-employment tax, working for your business as an S corporation, you can certainly save a lot of money. Why not just pay all cash? Just wondering. Most people cannot put up all their cash into one investment. And even if they can, they would never pay their house all cash. I mean, I would if it was a high interest rate like 7%. You don't want to use up all the cash when you use that to make other investments, aka stocks in which your money will increase substantially over time, also expenses. It is often financially very unwise to do this. Yes and no, certainly debatable. Again, if stock market only makes 8%, 9%, and then you have to pay taxes on that when you withdraw it. So you're really realistically only making 6%, and your mortgage is 6% or 7%. That's a guaranteed 6-7% every time you pay your mortgage. And it's not when you invest money in the stocks. 1 year, the stock market might be up 20, the next it might be down 30. So certainly a thought process of, a pros and cons list you have to make to decide which is the worthwhile thing. And then there's also the emotional toll of having a payment over your head, a mortgage. So it certainly can be debated specifically for each person and whether they're more emotional based or more technical and logistics. Really depends. Anywho, guys, that is going to be it for today's episode. Hopefully you liked today's video. Let me know what you think about these influencers, because it doesn't just affect them. It affects everybody. Let me know your thoughts about lifestyle creep, and if you've ever done it. If you carry any debt, what debt is it? Down in the comments section below. With that being said, smash the like button, turn on post notifications, subscribe. And if you haven't seen my influencer lying insanity episode, definitely make sure to check it out right after this. Peace.